Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
Hey you, podcast listener, this is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.
Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
All right, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. You can locate me through my website, emailrevealer.com, or oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like today's show, check out our members section at oppermanreport.com. We have all kind of exclusive content there. But give me a little time here, because we're switching over the paywall system, and we're having some kind of problems with the login password. So give us a little time on that. oppermanreport.com, the members section. If you like today's show as well, you want to check out our free archives, you can go to Spreaker.com. We have free archives down there that you can check out. Our guest today is Michael Molich-Ho, and he's the website proprietor of the realityinstitute.net. It's like a news website. And he sent me this article he wrote, What if I told you that a CIA-linked World Wildlife Fund was used as a front for covert intelligence operations to defend South African apartheid and kill members of Nelson Mandela's ANC? Now, that's a pretty damn good story, I'd say. You know, and it's something that we want to explore here at the Opperman Report. Michael Molich Ho, are you there?
Yeah, hi.
Thank you so much.
How's it going?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much. I got to tell the audience, Michael's a great guy. I screwed up the date and the time. He's been very patient with me, a very cool guy. So, Michael, I want to thank you for being patient with me there and helping me out today. Tell us, who is Michael Molich Ho?
So I am a freelance writer. I'm also a lead writer for a website called engineering.com. But I am looking to sort of get out of that and find something a little more stable. But yeah, freelance writer. I've been covering tech news, mostly 3D printing for the past 7 years, but I have more passionate interest in, deep politics type stuff like this.
Yeah, I gotcha. So now what is going on with this story? CIA linked the World Wildlife Fund. Let's start with this. What is the World Wildlife Fund?
So the World Wildlife Fund for Nature is, I think, the world's biggest environmental nonprofit. Although you could put quotes around nonprofit, it's dedicated to preserving animals. The logo is a panda, so it's probably the most famous conservancy organization in the world.
Okay, and how'd you stumble on this story?
So BuzzFeed broke a story, I think earlier this year, maybe in February or so, about some anti-poaching squads that they have they have them in a lot of different countries, but they found 6 different countries where these anti-poaching squads were abusing innocent people, mostly, indigenous people and local villagers in places like Nepal and India and Cameroon and a couple other places. And so these squads were like raping and torturing and murdering people under the auspices that they were trying to fight poaching practices in the region. And so when I read it, I was just sort of blown away because I used to love the WWF as a kid, thinking it was helping all these animals. And I was sort of like they described these groups as death squads or paramilitary squads. And so that immediately sort of called to mind U.S. death squads and Operation Condor, things like that. So I just started Googling WWF and immediately came across some prior incidents that were similar to what's happening now that happened in the late 80s. And I was like, oh, I should jump on this and write something because this is going to, break and everyone's going to find out that this has been going on for, maybe 30 or 40 years that the WWF has been doing this sort of stuff, but nobody reported on it. Nobody has talked about the stuff that the WWF has been doing in the 80s. And so I wrote this. I ended up spending months writing this article.
Well, Michael, it makes sense, okay? You need to hire an answer. What do you put an ad in the paper? You need an anti-poaching squad. You need to hire some mercenaries, some thugs. You need to hire some dangerous guys to go out. You need to hire some guys, right, with armed. Know what they're doing. Tactical guys know what they're doing. You need to go out in the wilderness, in the jungle, out there, in the desert and stuff, and fight these poachers. The poachers are armed. You need armed guards. Now, is this a situation where, bad apples? You got a couple of bad apples. They get into this thing here. They're tough guys. They're out there. They probably got warrants. That's why they're out there in the jungle. Is that what it is? Bad apples, or you find something more organized here that they're looking for guys like this?
That's what I was sort of wondering, because, I don't want to make any assumptions or anything. But so in the current moment, it very well could be just, sort of anti-poaching gone awry. Right. It's happened so many times recently that it's definitely bigger than a few bad apples. It seems to be a systemic problem within the WWF and probably nature conservation organizations as a whole. But it seems to be, at the very least, it's anti-poaching gone awry. But when you start looking further, at least into the WWF's history, it suggests that there's other motives going on beyond just overarmed anti-poaching squads.
Is there like a funnel? I used to work with, my business partner back in New York was NYPD Harbor Aviation. And Blackwater, back in those days, Eric Prince ran a company called Blackwater. They changed names several times. It still runs a mercenary organization. But he would want to recruit ex-cops, So all these type of guys, these mercenary type guys, were being funneled through that one organization and being channeled to the Middle East. Is it the same way with these poaching organizations? Is there an overall group that's hiring these guys and recruiting these guys?
Well, so it's happening in like a bunch of different countries across Asia and Africa. And so I'm not aware of any specific group that, funnels these guys to work at, the different parks that the WWF is involved in. But at least in the 80s, and I think, after that, there's been a lot of, and yeah, actually, I think even now there's a lot of cases in which people who were poachers become guards of the parks, and people who served in military in those regions become guards at the parks. And some military people also become poachers. And then to add to all of that is there's a lot of poaching done by people working at the parks, and at least implications that WWF workers a couple times have been involved in poaching themselves. So I guess there's no direct funnel, but you see like people from either side of the poaching war or from military operations working as rangers for these parks.
And you would think these guys would be harmless, you think, but no. Now, what are some of the atrocities that they're pulling?
So now the most recent stuff that BuzzFeed reported on, and a group called Survivor International sort of brought to the surface a few years ago, was that what they typically do or at least what they've done in a few places is they kick all of the indigenous people off a certain area of land and then make that land a national park and protected. And then if the indigenous people come onto the land or end up poaching for either like their own economic survival or for cultural reasons, then these eco guards will, either just like beat them up, or they might torture them to supposedly get information out of them for like poaching networks and, illegal trade routes and things like that. And these are things that the WWF has sort of told them they want to do, is create informant networks and create informants within the parks. And to create these informants, there's often some torture involved. And then in some locations there, I think like the Central African Republic, there's these eco guards who are found guilty of raping pregnant women, killing children in front of their parents, like real Phoenix program type scary stuff.
Now, is the criminal industry of poaching, is it such a big deal that logically we would need to hire the mercenaries and armies to take them down? Is this something that's necessary?
That's the thing that I was sort of wondering, because what the media would sort of have you believe is that it is such a huge problem. I didn't actually look into the numbers to see how big of a deal it was. I should have, or I might have actually, and then it's been a couple months of research, so I might have lost that bit. But what I started to feel like, I sort of got the feeling that that this poaching is sort of a cover or a narrative that they want to project in order to militarize parks, because in recent time, let me see when it's like 2009 or so, or 2012, there was this meeting between WWF and some other groups, and I found this report that's just notes from the workshop. It's a wildlife crime workshop, and what they say in it is sort of that it sounds like they're setting up a pretext for military intervention or for partnering with various militaries, because they say there's these notes from this report where people are coming up with suggestions for how to bring the military into wildlife crime fighting. And so they say things like we should link revenues from the illegal wildlife trade to terrorist groups. And then we can trigger government military responses, such as the U.S. Department of Defense, to get involved. So that's a little paraphrasing, but it was pretty much a direct quote. And then there's like mentions of the NGO community, ranger forces, and others must make a convincing case if they want strong military involvement. Many ranger forces in Central Africa are paramilitary, and the DoD should be able to work with them on a military-to-military basis. And so there just starts to seem like a pattern in which the military, especially, AFRICOM and the U.S. military, are becoming, more allied with the WWF and other conservancy nonprofits. And so that gives me the impression that it's sort of a pretext more than an actual concern.
Yeah, just the expression you used, wildlife crime fighting. Like, we're falling for that one, man. You know what I mean?
Well, if you read like National Geographic or CNN, News Online and stuff, I linked to a few different examples, but they keep saying it's about fighting terrorists and saying like Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram are making all their money to do terrorism from poaching. But you'll see in my article, like there's a CNN article titled "How Poaching Fuels Terrorism Funding." It's a Washington Post article, "Break the Link Between Terrorism Funding and Poaching." The director of Zero Dark 30 did a short film about terrorism being funded by the ivory trade. But then when you look at the research, it turns out that Boko Haram doesn't get very much funding from poaching. It gets a lot more from stealing cattle and things like that. And so, like, there's a National Science Foundation funded paper that says, that Boko Haram isn't interested in poaching. And you get another one from the Royal United Services Institute in England saying that poaching is more linked to organized crime than it is to terrorism. So there's like a few scholarly examples saying that those are wrong. And there's even a Brookings Institution report that says that no matter how much people want to link the poaching to terrorism, it's just not really there. That's not much of a link. So it really feels like a cover to me. So.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Because just think, you want to remove some indigenous people. You want to steal their land and steal their resources. So you create these thugs, these mercenary groups, right, with no accountability, right? There's no one monitoring these. They're not accountable to the United Nations or anything, or any kind of what's that other thing? The Geneva Convention, right? Not even close. These guys do whatever they want. And how do we get to pay for it? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put these commercials on TV saying, "Oh, save the animals," and all the vegans and the peaceniks are going to donate money to that. It's going to this.
Well, that's even like, so that is a huge portion of it is from donations, but it's also the U.S. government and like other governments are giving money to the WWF to perform these projects. So the story I just read today was published by the same BuzzFeed author, said that USAID who is a big contributor to the WWF. I have the numbers of how much they've donated over the years, but something like $120 million to the WWF. And so the the BuzzFeed story says that USAID specifically gave them money to fund these paramilitary groups. I'm sure you at least know, and some of your listeners, that USAID is often a front for, or can be a front for, the CIA and covert actions. So it's not just the peaceniks, but it's the government that is giving this money to them, probably for specific reasons.
And this is some brilliant reporting, man. I tell you deserve a Pulitzer Prize for this, man. This is, and it's right in front of our face. Going on right there. $120 million. They're funding these mercenaries to go around there on the pretext that it's to save tigers. Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about there's actual ties between the WWF and the CIA and covert operations. This is all stuff that's happening now, so it's sort of hard to get into the cracks and see what's going on. But we can look at documents from the 80s and learn that they have been using this as a pretext for military operations.
Well, give us some examples. I know one you cited was the ANC. Nelson Mandela. What do you have there?
Yeah, so that's the big one is that, so the founder, if I could just back up for a second, is
Sure.
A German prince who married into Dutch royalty. His name's Prince Bernhard. I don't know if anybody's heard of him since he died in like early 2000s, but this guy, he helped found the WWF, and he is like a really shady and interesting character because in addition to founding the WWF, he also founded the Bilderberg Group, which, everybody associates with rich people planning, what they're going to do to the entire world in secret meetings once a year or something. But besides that, he was very well connected with lots of sort of underworld and overworld figures. So he was connected with Alan Dulles, supposedly in a New York Times article. He was described as being really close friends with Dulles. And then in one document that I found on the CIA's FOIA reading room, shows that he offered the CIA a Dutch intelligence officer to work for them. And that's just like some of his CIA ties, but he's also used to be a Nazi, actually. He was before he fled Germany during the war. He was part of the SS, and he was part of their paramilitary organization called the National Socialist Motor Corps. And he also worked for IG Farben, the manufacturers of Zyklon B.
Right.
And with IG Farben, he worked in their espionage division as an operative. So he sort of has a long history of intelligence, and that's just sort of the beginning. We haven't even gotten into what happened with the WWF.
Well, Michael, just because the guy's a Nazi, right, and a Bilderberger, the CIA, and all this stuff, doesn't mean he doesn't like wild animals, right? He could be sincere with his love for the World Wildlife Fund. Isn't that possible, Mr. Mullich, or not?
I'm so happy that you're pronouncing my name right so often. Yeah, that's definitely possible.
It's
but
possible.
What makes you start to read a little bit more, and this isn't some of the stuff. I feel like I'm the first person to introduce some of about the connection to the CIA are some of the first, because no one's really been able to prove that he's been affiliated with the CIA, though some people have suspected it. But it gets a little crazier when I think in 1970 he brings on board the South African businessman. He was supposedly the wealthiest businessman in South Africa at the time. His name's Anton Rupert, or Rupert. I'm not sure how South Africans pronounce it, but they started this group, which is crazy to think that nobody just knows this, or that actually it's crazy to me that BuzzFeed didn't report this. They started a group called the 1001 Nature Trust, and it's made up 1,001 members, including Prince Bernhard, and each of those members contributes $10,000 to the group, and so the group membership has been a secret. Even to the board of the WWF, but that money is supposed to go to the WWF and fund its activities. But the board doesn't even know who it is. But then, so in the 80s, some names were leaked to the public from the 1001 Nature Trust, and they're some of the biggest names you could think of, both in the world of mobsters, not mobsters, but arms dealers.
Okay.
And business leaders. So you have Henry Ford is in it, Tom Watson from IBM's in it, Stephen Bechtel from the Bechtel Corporation, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, and the general director of British Petroleum, the CEO of Philip Morris, the CEO of Shell, Robert McNamara.
Oh, boy.
So these are all sort of the, supposedly acceptable types of people in the group. But then on the other side, you have the dictator of Zaire, Mobutu Seko Seko. You have arms dealer Adnan Khashoggi, who now is famous again from the Epstein affair. You have Osama bin Laden's brother, Salim bin Laden. Franco's Minister of Information. You have a drug and arms trafficker. And this one's really important to me. The founder of the Bank of Credit and Commerce International,
Wow.
which is the bank that the CIA used to launder funds to Osama bin Laden in the 80s.
Now, the World Wildlife Fund, they take donations, though, right? From the average public, they recruit, solicit donations?
Yeah.
It's a 501c, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. What? But you're right. And there is a link to BuzzFeed on this, right? But BuzzFeed isn't talking about any of this. What is BuzzFeed talking about?
Well, they're talking about the modern. I mean, they have like pretty much a paragraph saying the WWF was founded in the 60s by some conservationists. Oh. That's basically all they say. But the fact that one of the founders was a prince seems relevant at the very least, but that he started a shady organization to fund the WWF filled with, CIA assets, dictators and drug traffickers seems at the very least relevant.
Michael Molicho, the understatement of the year. I love this guy. It is relevant. It is relevant. Just like the impeachment hearings the other day. It could be more outlandish, couldn't it? It could be more outlandish. You know what I'm saying, man? Oh, my goodness. All right. This might be a good time to take a little commercial break here. We are with a great journalist here, Michael Molicho. Runs this website here called, what is this thing here? The realityinstitute.net. And he's telling us the story of paramilitary panda, WWF, not the wrestlers, but the World Wildlife Fund, land grabs rooted in covert apartheid history. You got to check this out. Really good stuff here, man. I'm really glad we booked you. We'll be right back with more of Michael Molicho right after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
Hey, check out our brand new sponsor, Dynamic Solutions 2. That's the number 2. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions. 424-888-2820. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You get a 10% discount.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Michael Molicho. He runs this website called therealityinstitute.net. Now, when we left off, our hero, Michael Molicho, has uncovered a den of Nazis, arms smugglers, drug dealers, masquerading as wildlife crime fighters. Now, Michael, what do you have to tell us next?
Well, so you gotta wonder what these guys are up to. Yeah. Supposedly raising, however much money, 10,000 times 1,001, for the World Wildlife Fund. Yeah. And so I, for some reason, just was searching through the CIA's FOIA reading room to see if Prince Bernhard had been mentioned because of, possible intelligence ties. And so I found that he's friends with Alan Dulles and all this other stuff. But so as I kept looking, I saw this one telegram. Or actually, this one was on WikiLeaks. A telegram from Bernhard, from a U.S. diplomat to Henry Kissinger, the Secretary of State at the time. And in it says that Prince Bernhard proposed turning a part of the Sinai Desert into a world wildlife conservation park. And in it says, this could be the diplomat says this could be great for, turning it into a, what do they call that? Demilitarized zone. Oh. So that Egypt and Israel could possibly meet there for, meetings to discuss the peace possibilities and things like that. And so to me, that basically says, Prince Bernhard is willing to create a wildlife park for the purposes of U.S. state, affairs and world affairs. In this case, it's demilitarized, but that could mean that it could become militarized. And then there's a follow-up telegram saying that the Israelis were cool with this idea. And so I don't think they ever ended up doing that. But as you look further into it, you learn that Prince Bernhard was deeply involved in something called Operation Lock, in which the WWF basically served as a cover for, or this is what I came to learn, because people have learned of Operation Lock but they haven't quite come out and said that it's been a cover, but it really seems like a cover for military operations in South Africa.
Now, one of the things you uncovered here is that they murdered members of the ANC.
Yeah, well, so this one I didn't uncover because it's been reported in a book called Panda Leaks. Okay. But what I feel like I've done is completed the picture because I don't think everybody's linked all of this stuff together. So in this book, there was a documentary that came out. It aired on the BBC. I think it was a BBC. Aired once and then never aired again, about the WWF and Operation Lock, and the fact that these MI6, what do they call them? Special Air Service Commandos had killed members of the ANC. And then that documentary disappeared. It's impossible to find now. And the guy who directed it died a few years later. And after this Panda Leaks book came out, he died. And I don't know exactly how he died, but it's sort of a mystery, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking of that when you were talking about how you were looking through the FOIA docs. I was thinking, if it's a 501(c), I can get those tax returns almost. I just ordered a bunch on another institution. You get a big. I'm holding my fingers apart about 4 inches high. You get back you get back this big giant stack of documents. Much more than any one person could go through. But I could just imagine you'd put yourself on such a list, man, going after these guys. This is no joke. No, really. This is crossing a line. Because if you notice, even Nelson Mandela, they let him out of prison. He never did he ever make a public statement saying, "Hey guys, the WWF is a bunch of CIA guys"? Has he ever said that? No, right?
Well, I think so. Actually, they did do an investigation into what happened during that time under Operation Lock. It's part of a larger investigation with the what do they call it? I forget what they called that period of time after he was released, but that was just one small part of a larger investigation into a lot of the crimes that happened under apartheid. And they did find that here I can read where the quote is, but they found that let me find it. Oh, here it is. So Mandela government had an inquiry into Operation Lock, and they decided that the WWF cannot contend that it had no knowledge of this operation or was totally divorced from it because the WWF at the time had internal organization documents discussing Operation Lock. But so they, at the very least, Nelson Mandela's government knew that the WWF knew that it was conducting these operations. And we haven't even talked about the operations themselves, which can get pretty scary. I mean, they killed ANC members, but they were all across the continent, it sounds like, during the wars being fought by the apartheid government.
And you said that they were using Phoenix program tactics.
Well, no, I was saying that current day paramilitary people are torturing villagers in a way that's very similar to Phoenix program type stuff. These guys, they may have been, but their focus seems to have been on killing ANC members and other people that were going to fight the government.
Are there any countries that have kicked out the WWF, says, hey, you're not allowed in our country?
Actually, I'm trying to think. I read a cable, I think, I want to say it was a South American country, and they did kick them out because they were kicking out all basically foreign nonprofits and stuff in the worry that it was a front.
What about Cuba, Venezuela? Did they allow these people in there?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that, but that's worth that's worth researching.
Now, I don't want to distract you from your narrative. What else do you want to tell me? No, I'm serious, because we don't have that much time left. What do you want to get out that I've been distracting you from?
Okay, so I think an important aspect is the tie between the British intelligence and the WWF. So what happened is Prince Bernhard worked with a South African functionary of the WWF to hire this group called KAS Enterprises, which was started by Sir David Stirling, who was the founder of the Special Air Services in England or in the UK. And what this guy's history is interesting in itself. He was a right-wing MI6 agent who attempted to overthrow the Yemeni and Libyan governments in the 60s and 70s. And then so what they did is they hired this guy's firm, KAS Enterprises, and they were supposed to infiltrate the trafficking network across Africa. So that was their cover story, it seems to me. And I found, or there's this one report that's been leaked in which these guys are saying that the U.S. Department of Interior, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, were keen to provide them with technical assistance for tracking rhino horns. But because of the embargo, they weren't able to ship it directly to them in South Africa. So what these guys suggested is that they send it to London and then have them take it into Africa on their own. So you already see these different U.S. government and British government agencies working together with this poaching outfit that's being run by MI6 agents in South Africa.
Right, because what you want to do is you want to create the problem. You want to create the poaching problem, and then you got your other guys here coming in to solve the problem.
Yeah, and these guys were the problem. They were trading illegal ivory, and so that's sort of like what's been taken away as the big failure of Operation Walk is that KAS Enterprises was actually selling ivory illegally. That's what people think the failure was, but I think that that's just cover for them performing covert operations. So like, there's a few other things that happened. So they, like you mentioned, they supposedly used the Kruger National Park, which is like a massive national park in South Africa. They used that to train paramilitary units from a previous death squad called the Cuff It Squad, which is involved, I think, in the Angolan War. I'm not sure. But they trained them, and then within the park, they trained these people, and then they went and killed, I think, about 6,000 members of the ANC or just opponents of South African regime. So that's a huge deal. And there's other links that aren't necessarily worth getting into here, but one or at least two more important details is that the same group, KAS, funded a helicopter gunship in Zimbabwe at the same time as it was doing these operations in South Africa. So like they're traveling throughout the country and they went to Zimbabwe. WWF funded a helicopter for this Zimbabwe's Department of National Parks and Wildlife Management. And then that helicopter and those park rangers ended up killing 57 poachers, supposedly. And this story came out in, I think, the early 90s. But this stuff isn't like completely hidden from view, but nobody is making the connections about the possibility that it was deliberate intelligence or military operation.
Oh yeah, if they're taking out 6,000 ANC guys, this is a serious operation. They got serious numbers and they have serious equipment. There has to be more than one helicopter, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the people who reported on this was a New York Times guy who wrote a book about it. Named Raymond Bonner, and he said that they were funding similar things in Tanzania at the time, and we already know about South Africa. But I list like some of the countries where this group was supposedly operating, and we don't know all the details of what they did, but it's like at least like I'd say 10 countries in Africa, but maybe more. I'd have to count them.
Now, what kind of reaction has your article got?
Well, I mean, not a lot of people have read it except for followers on Twitter, but those people have liked it. I've sent it to lots of people. I've tried to get it published in like, I'm trying to think. Mint Press News is sort of a low-key parapolitics website, but I also sent it to like Motherboard, which is a Vice outlet, and Splinter, which used to be a Gawker news site. But nobody wanted to publish it for some reason.
Yeah, I wonder why. Now Mint Press News, they come out with this article about how Jeffrey Epstein and the Clintons both have a corporation at the same address. Oh my goodness! Oh, what reporting? A Delaware corporation. Oh my, really? Oh, along with 20 other thousand companies. Yeah.
Yeah, including Trump is at that same address.
Everyone is. I probably got a couple over there. Everyone is, because it's a corporate. Anyway, let's get this and move on. What else? Is there anything else you want to tell us about this that I haven't asked you? Because we're getting to the end of the time.
Okay, yeah, I guess there's at least one really key thing is that on the 1001 Nature Trust, which was, funding part of the WWF, there was at one point 60 members of a apartheid club or organization that was basically a fascist, it was an Afrikaner organization. And in that, among those people were some of the most powerful people in South Africa at the time, like the chairman of the mining and industrial group in the country, the largest bank, and some members affiliated with the National Party, which was the racist apartheid party. And member of the country's Defense Advisory Council. So like really powerful apartheid government members and members of the industry were a part of this group at the same time. So I think that's like a pretty solid evidence for having interest in what's going on in South African politics at the time.
Yeah, I can't wait till Ted Rubenstein sees this, because he's one of these big animal advocates, and he's always sharing these petitions and stuff. I'm sure he's not aware of this, man, because he's really good at researching this kind of stuff. I think he's really going to take this and run with it, man.
Good.
Oh, yeah. Now, the realityinstitute.net, what other stuff are you working on? Or what else would we find there?
Well, this site sort of started out as a blog for curating art and cultural artifacts from friends and family, and then basically devolved into a personal blog over time as I've been able to devote less time to it and more time to stuff I get paid for. But you'll find creative writing and music and art on there. So I call it an art and culture blog, but it would be awesome to turn it into like a parapolitics news site or something like that.
Well, many others like yourself have come on this show, and a month later, they've got their own podcast, and then they're the toast of the town. Everybody's interviewing them all over the place. You could be famous. Michael Molich Ho, you could be famous a month from now. Everybody, and you'll be ignoring my messages when I try to get you to come back. But people should check out this article here on the realityinstitute.net. He's got scanned documents that say top secret on them. All kinds. It's a very well-researched article. You can't beat this. Now, but just before we go, is there anything left on this WWF topic that we haven't covered?
So the one final thing, I mean, there's a couple things, but sort of an important takeaway that BuzzFeed overlooked was the reason why they're kicking all these indigenous people off of their land is oftentimes it seems to be to save part of the land for, whatever conservation's sake. And then the other part of the land is used for the resources. So they partner with all these companies like Cargill, which is like, I think the biggest corn harvester grower in the world, Monsanto. These giant companies use the other portion of this land to create supposedly sustainable palm oil, which turns out it's not sustainable at all, and or soybeans, or timber is a big one, and mining and all this stuff. So if people do read this article at the end, you'll see how they're still doing this today. It's for political and economic gain, it seems like, for the most part.
Yeah, palm oil is another one. It's another hot button topic that gets all the vegans and the vegetarians and stuff all excited. And it's true, because even with my own commercial, I play here for the Pure Soap product, it's good for the palm oil business there, because it's to create these palm oil farms, you need to deforest huge territories there in order to create it.
And WWF's helping with that.
Yes, I believe that. Yes, it's very discouraging to hear this, man. So now, how can people get a hold of you and find you if they want to talk to you?
So I also have a portfolio website that has my email address, but they can email me at michael.molicho@gmail.com, which is michael.molitchhou without the hyphen @gmail.com.
Okay, and you can find the spelling. His name is very, difficult to spell and pronounce. We're not kidding each other here, right? So, and you can find that at therealityinstitute.net because it's by his byline, Michael Molich-Ho, a paramilitary panda, the WWF land grabs rooted in covert apartheid history. Michael, anything you want to leave us with before we go?
No, I don't think so. I guess tell your friends that the WWF sucks.
There you go, man. That was a great send-off, man. Thank you so much. Michael Molich-Ho, therealityinstitute.net. Thank you, brother.
Okay, thanks so much.
Good night.
Bye.
All right, man, let me tell you something about this Michael Molich-Ho. I really did screw up the booking for the show and stuff like that. He's a really good guy. And I like this. And I know a lot of people are going to be contacting him for interviews right now. There's a great story. There's a great piece of work of investigative reporting he's done here. The realityinstitute.net. I hope he expands and gets into other areas with this as well. I was telling him off the air about some experience I had along these same lines, where I discovered that people involved with National Geographic and the Discovery Channel and stuff like that were traveling all over the world and doing photography and doing stand-up gigs, in these, stand-up narrations and stuff like that. And I found out that these guys were fronts for CIA, He doesn't get into too much CIA connection here. Most it's, Nazis and stuff like that as well. But it's just what a brilliant move. Whoever came up with this idea, a World Wildlife Fund. We're gonna fight wildlife crime. I talk about this kind of thing all the time about any problem we have. We're gonna arrest it or shoot at it. So what do we got? We got a problem here with the extinction of animals. Well, let's create this mercenary task force. These thugs with the Phoenix program type tactics, and send them out there. Once these bands are out there rolling around doing this kind of stuff, you can take over whole territories to change, regime change, all kinds of stuff. We got these guys embedded in there. Okay, this is no joke. I'll tell you something else. I did a job once. This guy was arrested for poaching here in the United States. And the wildlife, I forget what it was called, Fish and Game, something like that. They started threatening witnesses in this guy's case. And he hires me to trace back some emails, right? And he says, Ed, man, these guys, they're threatening. I think it's the wildlife, the game wardens that arrested me. I think they're threatening my witnesses. I said, this guy's crazy, but I'll trace the emails, what are they going to go back? Who knows what's really going on? But it did. It traced back to the Fish and Game, the game wardens, the gov, the government building, the office there. We're threatening his witnesses in this case. So I wonder how much this bleeds over into the United States. And I wonder, why wouldn't Nelson Mandela say, hey, the WWF, don't donate to them. They're CIA. Why? I wonder, are they allowed in Cuba? Are they allowed in Russia? Does Russia allow them to come in? Ukraine? What's going on here, man? But Michael Molicho has done some good work there. I'm sure he'll be the toast of the town on everybody's show by this time next month. Everybody be wanting to book him. He'll have his own podcast, his own be a guest, co-hosting with other former guests on my show. They'll all get out there and network together. But you come here, I find them here. I play a lot of repeats. People love it. I'm playing some repeats. I play repeats now 7 nights a week on the Spreaker channel. Just trying to build up the Spreaker.com. And so if you go to Spreaker.com and you follow the show, you can sign up for free. It's free. And you follow the show, you'll get an email when I do a broadcast of some repeats. And people, they listen to these shows from 2013. And I'll get an email and say, how can you say the show's from this is all current day news. This is stuff that just came out. I says, dude, I've been talking about this stuff for years. I said, are you kidding me? I haven't reported on this stuff for years, or anybody did. But enough of patting myself on the back here. Tonight's dedicated to Michael Molicho and his great work here at the realityinstitute.net. I hope he does get into more investigative reporting there as well. Just taped a show with Christine Kramer, a local Nevada activist who's doing this Medicare for All delegates networking, where she's recruiting delegates to go to the Democratic convention, and there'll be delegates for Medicare for All. So no matter which candidate, that they'll be able to lobby all the different candidates. So that's something you really want to get involved with, and keep an eye out for that show there. I'm also taping soon with Lindsay Lohan's mother, Dina Lohan. We've been friends on Facebook for many, many years, and she's going to be coming on and tell us misconceptions about what people know about her family and what people think about her family and stuff like that. So Dina Lohan coming on. Oh boy, let's see. Taping again, I have the gentleman coming back who was an eyewitness to the abduction of Adam Walsh. And he's convinced that he saw Jeffrey Dahmer abduct Adam Walsh. So he has some updates. He's put out a second edition to his book. I think it's called Reluctant Witness or something like that, or Obsessed Witness. And we have him coming back as well. But thank you so much, Michael Molicho. Once again, the website is therealityinstitute.net. The article is Paramilitary Panda, WWF Land Grabs, Rooted in Covert Apartheid History. And once again, Michael Molicho is no diva. That's for sure. He was very cooperative with me and helped me out today booking this show when I had all these problems. So thank you so much, Michael Molicho. And now a word from our sponsors. Emailrevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat. Locate his hidden assets. Locate his hidden bank accounts. Find his current place of employment, and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com. Digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages. Create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com, 800-572-9762.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report, and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
Hey, you, podcast listener, this is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson. and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.